Good morning. It's DroneOCan here with another road trip video. Mabel's in the back. We're just waiting for Emily to show up. We're going to head our way down to Lethbridge today, but we're going to do it in a little different route. Most people would take Highway 2 down to either Fort Macleod or Granham or Claresholm and then cut across to get to Lethbridge. Nah, we're not going to do that. That's no fun. We're going to take the back road. I have to go do some geocache maintenance out in the town of Arrowwood, and then we're going to pick our way through to Lethbridge, taking, like I said, some lesser-known secondary highways. There we go. Everyone's here. First stop on our road trip, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but right over there, poking up above this cornfield, you'll see the tops of 3 elevators. And if you know your Alberta grain elevators at all, that should be enough of a thing to see to tell you that we're in Mossleigh, Alberta. So we came into town in a different direction just to try and catch the grain elevators from a different angle from the ones that you've probably seen online all the time. And it's really cool. There's a couple schools here that we're not actually familiar with, that we've never seen before. So let's take a closer look at those. And of course, by take a closer look, I mean, drive by. So that white building there with the red tin roof appears to be an old schoolhouse, kind of a 1 or 2 room schoolhouse. And then this one here, it's got a whole bunch of plants or weeds growing up on the roof. Obviously looks like it was a newer replacement, probably a 1950s, 1960s kind of school. And it kind of disappears behind these bushes here. But once we get past them, you can see there, looks like it's been renovated, used for something else. Basketball courts, hopelessly overgrown. So that's kind of cool. We've never seen that in all the times we've stopped here. I guess we've always been too focused on the grain elevators. Get another look at the school here as we drive into town.
Someone lives there.
Oh, it's been converted into a residence now by the looks of it. That's kind of cool. Good reuse of an old building. It's funny, never noticed this before either somehow. That's a former church that's been converted into a residence. The things you discover when you actually drive around these towns. Nice vintage Coachman fifth wheel here. Sure don't make them like that anymore. But of course, the thing that everybody comes to Mossleigh to see, the grain elevators. So there we go. 3 very distinct colors now. The yellow P&H, which is actively being used right now. You can see there's a truck there in front. The orange Pioneer grain elevator. And then this other one at the end that has been fairly recently renovated and clad in fresh siding here. 3 very distinct elevators. Nice to see that they've been looked after and preserved, and some extra rolling stock here probably belongs to Aspen Crossing, which is the little campground, gift shop, and little rail excursion place here just on the, well, I guess you'd call it the southwest part of town. It's a pretty cool little stuff to see here if you're a rail fan or a grain elevator fan. This is somebody's yard. Okay, I thought this was the road, but nope, it's just the yard. Okay, I'll show you. See, I thought this could take us back to the highway. No wonder Waze was trying to navigate us back through town. That is a beautiful piece of property overlooking that valley. You got grain elevators on one side, train tracks right in front of your place. Like, man, must be nice. Watch more of our videos so we can afford a place like that someday. So we were just on our way out of Mossleigh and had to stop. There's a short section here of abandoned highway, and it just presented a really great perspective on things. I'll show you. I mean, if you know anything about me, you know I love old abandoned stretches of road or old highway alignments. So we've got the old stretch of highway here, and you can see exactly how the highway used to come straight through here before they put the big curve in here and straightened it out. And you can get a great view of the 3 elevators from Mossleigh off on the horizon too. And out this way, the DroneOCan Adventure Mobile. Straight ahead, you can see there how this stretch of highway used to go straight and continue through. So undoubtedly, probably if I had the drone, I could put it up here and you could probably see where this used to be a regular intersection. Not sure when this all got realigned, but now Highway 24 just makes a nice gentle sweeping curve around. The cars don't have to stop. And this little section of highway got left behind and forgotten, except by crazy nut bars like us who have to come out here and see it and drive on it as far as we can for that little distance. Welcome to Arrowwood. And we got a science stop, which is one of the reasons why we placed the geocache here in the first place. It's over here on this little boardwalk that goes around the wetland area. But before we get there, we can talk about this section of siphon. So the siphon was part of Bow River irrigation. And basically there's a nice photo of it here when it was in use. It was originally located about 7 kilometers northwest of Arrowwood. I haven't actually gone to see the site where it was or to try and find where it was. But first one was built in 1936, second one was built in 1951. Shot down here in the corner shows the double siphons. And they were replaced with a concrete siphon in 1991. Now sometimes they're called siphons, sometimes they're called penstocks. I can think of at least 3 I know of in Alberta that have all since been replaced. There, of course, is this Arrowwood one. And I'll just stick my head in here so you can get a good echo effect, maybe. So there was this one by Arrowwood. And then, of course, there was one near Vauxhall, northeast of Vauxhall. That was also replaced in the early 90s. And the third one I can think of was actually out in Kananaskis country along the, I believe it's the Canyon hike. and it too got replaced a bit later. I think it was replaced around the early 2000s, because I actually found a geocache that was hanging on the side of the one in Kananaskis around 2004, 2005, and it was replaced since then. And speaking of geocaches, I forgot the one that I brought here to replace the one on our boardwalk here, or on the boardwalk here, that continually goes missing, it seems. I think this will be the second or third time we've had to replace it. So this is the cache container I'm going to use. I happen to have it sitting on the corner of my desk probably for the last 2 years, meaning to get put away somewhere. This cache was originally hidden near the University of Calgary in a small park, and the original owner archived it and gave up on it and never bothered to pick up the pieces of it. So I went around at lunch when I still worked there one day and gathered it up to clean it up, since it was essentially trash if it's not a published geocache. And at that point I took it home, and today it's going to get recycled into a new location here in Arrowwood. I'm just kind of waiting for a little gap in traffic here, just so that the people driving down the highway there aren't wondering what I'm doing crawling around under this boardwalk. There's a lot of thistles down here, so it's not the most pleasant place to try and hide a cache, but let's see. I'm assuming the old one is gone. It's been DNF'd, or did not find, a few times here. I don't know how it manages to go missing. So let's see what we can do here. Not the most pleasant place to be when I think about spiders and things, but flip this around. Whoops, wrong direction. But you should be able to see it's hanging up here. So spoiler alert for anyone who goes hunting for it. You can probably find it just by feeling around and not having to crawl under here. Ugh. I don't want to know what's in my hair. Good thing I don't have much of it. I remember when we stumbled across this, it just seemed like kind of a neat place to hide a geocache. You kind of got some of the interpretive signs here about the wetland. Picture of Emily on this sign, right there, contemplating flies. That's so cute. Can you give us your best frog pose impression? That's hard with the dog on a leash. That's pretty good, actually, yeah. So yes, it was like neat spot, one of these Alberta roadside highway stops, located along here, what used to be the rail bed. So it's along an abandoned rail line. I mean, off in the distance, you got a grain elevator. Arrowwood still has a classic water tower. And yeah, it's a nice little spot to just pull in here. And you can kind of park here, learn about the siphon, learn about the wetlands, enjoy the prairie countryside. These steps are a little wobbly and rickety, but manageable. Frog doing its best impression of the Harlem Globetrotters. And I don't know why I ducked and crawled underneath that guardrail. I didn't give up on it. When there's perfectly good steps right here. I know it's hard to believe, but sometimes I end up paying too much attention to the camera and not enough to my surroundings. That's how people fall into the Grand Canyon too. Let's do one more pass through the siphon, just because we can.
Mabel thinks this is like an agility course.
Yeah, she's having a grand old time. Amazing to think what this would have been like filled with rushing water. Much more pleasant now.
Still smells like prehistoric.
All right, well, let's load up again and we'll take a quick spin by. Got to take a photo of the grain elevator, of course. Take a closer look and a photo of the water tower. There used to be a really cool old co-op store right in front of the water tower that has since been demolished. They opened up a new co-op here in town and unfortunately took down the old building, but oh well, I guess we can't save them all. Oh man, that is a whole lot of dog in close proximity here on a hot day. Actually, it's not that hot. It's only 23, but I turned the air conditioning off because I have my window open for filming, so it feels a lot hotter. Nice little campground here. Some nice buildings here too. The local museum. This looks like an old service station. And of course, the water tower. Standing proud, standing tall, standing smack dab in the middle of it all. This looks like another church that's been converted into a residence. The houses here in the yards, this little playground area over here. Oh,
Yeah, I need to ride that.
yeah, huh? Like very well maintained.
Yeah, it's a great town.
We saw that plane. I don't know if you'll be able to see him, but we saw him flying as we drove into town. He must be doing some crop dusting somewhere and probably had to go back and reload.
Yeah, he's got the sprayer.
Yeah,
Thing.
definitely a crop duster. And residential lots available.
Non-residential.
Oh, non-resident. Again, I'm trying to drive and film here. Not at the same time for anyone who's complaining. But, you know, it's, yeah, it's not easy to read sometimes. There's the grain elevator, former Alberta wheat pool. If I remember correctly, when I worked in the ag business back in the early 90s, the local agent out here was Monty from B&B Services. Shipped a lot of anhydrous ammonia propane equipment out to Arrowwood to good old Monty. So it's funny, as we were heading out of town towards the grain elevator, Emily's like, we are going to stop and ride the frog, right? And I'm like, well, yes, of course. And of course, in the time it took us to come back, the automatic sprinklers kicked on. But she thinks the frog is in a dry zone, so. If nothing else, it's good to cool Mabel off. Come on, Mabel.
Yeah, frog's dry.
Frog is dry.
Very
Mabel thinks she needs to help out here. A little concerned about what's happening with the frog. Don't break the frog, but he's very springy.
The bucking frog of Arrowwood.
Oh my, oh my. Come over here and read the plaque. Memory of Kathy Jones. And then there was another sign over here at the entrance to the park. I think looked like it had the Canada Centennial logo on it, which means the park probably dates to about 1967. Yeah, let's see how... It's actually not that bad. It's not that hot. I bet I can ride it or slide down it. The traditional blue imp, which has been painted red. If I can do this. Somehow, I remember this being more fun when I was a kid. All right, let's check out the sign here. Yes, Village of Arrowwood in permanent commemoration of the centennial of the Confederation of Canada. There you go. So pretty much as expected, a 1967 centennial project. And I would not be surprised if some things like the slide and that really awesome lighthouse slide date right back from the original construction in 1967.
I think the dome probably too.
Nice little picnic shelter there in the back if we had brought some egg salad sandwiches and wanted to stop for lunch. Arrowwood's a great little town. Certainly more here than you think if you're just cruising by on the highway. That's a great building here. Maybe an old original blacksmith shop that's been a little bit renovated or not, but tin roof, false front, some sort of plaque on it. I don't think I'm going to stop and read it, but yeah, that's a cool building too. Another garage here, currently for sale by owner. Looks like another plaque on it. So it seems like Arrowwood's trying to do a nice job here in bringing attention to some of the old buildings in town and what they used to be. And it's kind of nice to see some people with a little bit of pride in their community's history. And of course the funny part was, as I was going down the slide, some people who live next door to the park happened to be coming out their back door to go for a walk, and they wouldn't say they really gave us a lot of side eye, but they just kind of had a chuckle watching us enjoy the park there like a couple of kids, which is, you know, what you got to do. Stay young, why not? Queenstown or Queenston, Alberta, depending on how you want to say it. Not much here anymore. There are photos online, of course, of this place when it had like multiple grain elevators and was actually a real bustling community, but not so much anymore. It's one of those places that, you know, no matter how many times you visit, you always kind of pull in and check just to see how some of your old friends are doing. And the biggest one, of course, is the Queenstown Garage, which is located just off to our right here. So this is actually Center Street of Queenstown. You can see the garage there. Great old building. Definitely an Alberta classic. I'm gonna get Emily to take a photo of it through the window here. I'll hold the dog. It's kind of cool, the old tractor in front there. Birds chirping. The old reach across here. Such a great building. Once a thriving business, now probably just used for private storage more than anything. But grass is cut, still nicely maintained. Center Street and First Avenue. I imagine taxes are low here because obviously you don't pay a lot for road maintenance. I think this is the old community hall. We'll get a shot of it from the front as we go by. Again, I could let Emily film, but it's just easier to reach across and get some shots there. On to the next one. Established 1931. Welcome to Milo. Here near Lake McGregor, so lots of recreational traffic. The old Milo Hotel there. We detoured in here mainly to see the grain elevator. Well, there you go. Emily's found a greenhouse we could live in. I don't know where these puddles came from. I didn't think there'd been any rain anywhere lately. But it seems like they had rain. Oh, don't run over all those birds in the puddle. Sorry, little guys. So there we go, the Milo elevator. Still says Alberta Wheat Pool on this side. And on the front side here, you can still see a faded Alberta Pool logo. Still visible. All metal clad, so not exactly in the classic colors, but still standing. And that's what matters. Again, it's another one like the Queenstown Garage. It's just another place you got to stop and check in on every once in a while, make sure it's still there. And here we go, Walter White still brewing, if you had any doubts. There you go. And this is a perfect example of why I'm the worst person to ask, well, how long does it take to get somewhere? I mean, here we are, we're 3 hours and 16 minutes into our trip. We've only covered 210 kilometers. And it still shows we have an hour and 27 minutes to go. So, yeah, if someone were to ask me, I would tell them, yeah, Lethbridge, yeah, it's like a 6-hour drive. past the wide load into downtown Lomond. Home of, is it Billy Badger? Bobby Badger. You can see his little mural there behind all the RCMP vehicles. Quickly dipped the camera below dash level as passing the RCMPs. They didn't think I was videotaping them for some reason. Isn't it odd we still call it videotaping them even though there's absolutely zero tape involved? So I think that is going to wrap it up for this episode/video. Emily's just doing some shopping. We're going to catch up with my mother here. We timed our trip down just about perfectly. So I hope you enjoyed our little tour through some of the smaller towns and a couple different sites along the way, taking a creative route from Cochrane to Lethbridge that probably most people wouldn't think of doing, and I'm not even sure why we thought of doing it, but that is going to be it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next video.